everybody to the Berwick Public Library. We have a real treat tonight after a long day of getting stuff done so you could all go out and vote, and all those questions on the ballot. I heard complaints from people in town that there were many things to decide. Well, tonight you don't have to decide anything. You just have to sit and enjoy some beautiful music by Ross Bachelder. It's our not your usual flute stuff, just one flute recital by Ross. I am so impressed by this man. First of all, he is so helpful to us at the library, volunteers. I call him, I email him, can you help me with this, can you help me with that? And I'm never disappointed. He always comes through. When I look at his biography, and I always ask for a short biography, I'm so impressed. Where do I start? Do I go with the artist? Do I go with the author? Do I go with the musician? Well, tonight we're going to go with the musician. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the other things too. Ross is going to perform an etude for the flute tonight, and you all have a program, so you'll be able to see and keep up with that. As an author, artist, musician, Ross has been active, and I apologize, I have to read it because there's so much stuff to talk about. Has been an active musician in the Seacoast, New Hampshire, and southern Maine area, elsewhere in New England, for more than 40 years. He's also performed solo recitals, played in a musical theater, appeared at art exhibit openings, assisted living facilities, and other special events as the flute guy. He's also exhibited in an unorthodox and playful drawings he does, paintings, found object assemblies, photographs in galleries in Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts for more than 20 years. He's the founder and coordinator of the KAA, South Coast Moderns, an interest group within the Kittery Art Association.
Seacoast Moderns?
Seacoast?
Seacoast Moderns, yeah.
Okay.
All right, okay.
All right, yes, jump in.
Yeah.
For 1 year, in the coordinator of AGNE, Abstract Artists Group of New England. He will be featured as the artist at the Cracked Skull Coffee and Books for the month of July. Where is that?
Scares people to hear that name, but don't be misled. It's a wonderful, it takes you back to the pre and post Ginsberg times. It has that wonderful, small, slightly beat feeling about it, but they have fabulous pastries. It's in Newmarket.
In Newmarket,
Yeah,
okay.
it's right down the street from Moe's Subs on Main Street in Newmarket.
Oh, okay. People probably know that.
Great place. Yeah.
For 12 years, Ross, I'm going to say Ross because this is your press release. Ross managed the frame shop in the Franklin Gallery at Ben Franklin Crafts in Rochester, New Hampshire. The Franklin Gallery is now located at Riverstone's Custom Framing, also in Rochester. In 2016, Ross published his first book, Happy Dog Walks the Sad Man, The Remarkable Varied Adventures of a Confirmed Arts Multiple. He's now working on his second book, a collection of 12 short stories entitled Weird Anomalies, Tales Best Read in the Twilight Hours. And it's scheduled for publication late 2018, and we will look forward to having you as an author in that, put that hat on for that. Ross travels all around New England, performs as a musician, paints, photographs, speaks. What else can we say? Writes. Such an artistic and talented man, and we're so lucky to have you as a Berwick resident in our town. So please help me welcome Ross Bachelder.
Thank you. Thank you, every one of you, for caring to come here tonight. I was worried because the weather was terrible, and I thought, gee, it was fabulous out there. So that means all the more to me that you're here. Let's see, I have some simple notes here. Does anyone get Word a Day on the computer? It shows up every day. You can sign up for it. It's free, and you get a new word to add to sharpen your knowledge of or add to your vocabulary, and I really enjoy getting it. So day before yesterday, triathlon came on. And I thought, that's weird, that has a remarkable relevance to me because my challenge for the last several years now has been to balance music, writing, and the visual arts. And in a way, a triathlon is a long-range challenge that people love to try to meet. And in a way, that's what my life has become, how to balance these three things and do them with dignity and with passion. And so I'm a triathlon person. And then that connects with the other comment I like to make at recitals, which is people have a habit of thinking, compartmentalizing. There are musicians and artists, and then there are those athletes, you know, the big muscly guys. Well, there's remarkable similarities between being an athlete and being a musician, and I feel it every time I rehearse. It takes a tremendous amount of lung work to do that. It can be stressful to stand over and over again, but that's a relatively modest problem. The lung capacity isn't, though. And then when it comes to fine motor skills, right, we're athletes. It's just that we work on a smaller, in a smaller way than someone playing football or soccer. Another way to look at it is that athletes are also dancers, even though some of them are uncomfortable saying they are. We seem to be enthralled, and for good reason, watching them perform physical miracles, and it's very similar to being a dancer. So people ought to let loose of the idea that everything is compartmentalized. Yes, Cracked Skulls, I will be exhibiting there for the month of July, and I'll be back here on the 28th as a part of the, how do we describe that?
Volunteer appreciation.
Yeah, I'll just be playing a little background music there. And I won't play any of the songs there that I'm doing tonight. I have to start over. Now, I'm getting ready. I'm in the very early stages of taking another exciting trip. I did New Zealand 7 years ago, and that was a fabulous challenge. Most difficult was the driving on the other side of the road. But now I'm looking into going to Paris and Amsterdam. So I'm being frank about it and tell you that if you happen to be interested in my art and you show up and you're looking for it, it would help pay for Amsterdam and Paris. In fact, when I did before New Zealand, I put together an exhibit called New Zealand or Bust. Said, let's tell the truth, and it really helped, actually. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, and I'm just a little uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable with it, but you have to learn to do it. This is the book that the librarian just mentioned. Happy Dog Walks the Sad Man. It really isn't about a dog, I promise you. It's about 50 years of involvement in the fine and performing arts, and I won't go on anymore. It's available at the following places: River Run Bookstore in Portsmouth, Riverstone's Custom Framing in Rochester, Dover Library, Berwick Library. So see, you don't have to buy it. It's right in the collection. And then what's the other one I was going to mention? I forgot. Okay, Time to Make Music. I do have cards here in case anyone wants one for some reason. And everyone got a program?
Yep.
This is a strange format. 19 songs. Some people are probably spooked by that. I said, oh, I'm not going to go and sit through 19 songs. Well, they're mostly very short. So, and you do not have to go nuts, frankly, clapping. So if you acknowledge it, I'll know that, and we'll get through the 19. Okay. Everyone got a program, right? I won't go on and on about that. I'm not a music historian. I wanted to supply you with that information in case it interested you. So, Gordon Jacob, The Spell. This is a two-part song, you'll see. That's the first half of that song. By the way, I just have to quick tell you that I read up about all of these people to prepare the concert program, and I found out that Gordon Jacob was taken prisoner during the war and early World War II, and to cope with the time that he was in prison and to help his fellow prisoners, they pulled together what instruments they could, and they made music together, and he even composed songs while he was in prison. So that impressed me deeply. This is the companion piece to it. This is the March to the River Weser. I kind of lied a little bit in my program because not every one of these pieces is an etude. But, you know, artist prerogative. I'll stretch the truth once in a while. Obviously, the one we just heard is not really an etude, but the next one by Kohler is indeed an etude. And an etude, simply, I'm not a speaker of French, but they were created in French 19th century culture as a teaching tool for people studying music formally in Paris. And of course, that spread to other countries. So it's a study piece, but they're far more than study pieces. They're among my favorite pieces of all time, and I kind of collect them and think of myself as a bit of a musical archaeologist, helping keep them in the public mind once in a while. mood break here, a Massenet piece, which I always love playing, Melody Elegy. This one, when I played this often in assisted living facilities over the years, and I like to talk, as you can kind of tell, I like to talk to people between songs to try to get rid of the idea that that this kind of music is stuffy and you have to be a certain way all the way through. It's not the way I'm built, so I do it differently. I always tell the people in assisted living facilities that this is my waterfall song, and I'll let the music confirm that or not. athlete, right? It takes a lot of air to make that happen. I know probably my wife, who's in the audience, get tired of hearing this, but some of my cliches are not cliches to others. There's an understanding that it takes more air to play the flute than it does the tuba, because of all 2/3 of my air is disappearing beyond the tone hole into the atmosphere, and that means I'm constantly having to replenish. Whereas when you're playing a brass instrument, you tend to be able to channel it in this tiny hole in your mouthpiece, and it tends to be easier to pull it off. I'm not trying to take anything away from brass players. Just takes a lot of air to be a flute player. Okay, this is, I have two by a Scandinavian composer. I really enjoy his work, Anderson. And this is a kind of a lickety-split one. That's a good way to describe it. You don't get any rest on this one. This one, I know I'm in dangerous territory when I say this kind of feels like German to me. There's something about the German temperament and what we know about their culture that can, in my opinion, confirms how I feel about this. It's very regimented and very carefully structured. And I love Siegfried Kargeler's works. Told you they're sharp, right? You can see a dramatic difference in feeling and mood between the one I just played and the one that's coming up. Another really a romantic era piece, The French Guy, and I am not a speaker of French, so forgive me if I say things horribly. In fact, if anyone that speaks French out here, oh, God. Le Chant du Vent, there. Probably a terrible pronunciation, but it's a beautiful piece. Where did you say Turchak is from? It's in my program. Austro-Hungarian, okay. This one I used to tell the people at assisted living facilities and other venues is, I call that my wallpaper piece because it is so methodical, and I don't mean to go on and on about this, but it's really fun. If you just look at it as a pattern, as wallpaper, it's more patterned than any other piece I'm playing tonight. It's the one on the right. So you'll get the feeling, I hope. And some of you who may have heard me play here and elsewhere in the past will recognize this one perhaps. But I just needed to put some stuff that was lyrical, right, and flowing next to all of the things that are so technical. So this is the piece I played when I went to New Zealand and played it in an art opening. I won't go on and on about that story, but it was a great adventure for me. And here we go. It's the Gluck from Orfeo and Euripides, and it's Dance of the Blessed Spirits. to put Mr. Bach in here, right? You know, there's so many of the pieces of his I could have played, but in this case, I'm just playing 2 of 3 movements from his Suite in B minor. Bach always gets a good reaction. I think that's true. I think we all know him well, and even when we think we don't. And his stuff has incredible drive. You know, it's boom, boom. Some people have alluded to that. Historians is the rock music of his time. By the way, for just a second, look at the dates of Bach here. 1685 to 1750. I wish I had more time. We asked people to relate the time, what was going on in Berwick at the time these people were composing. It gets really interesting to do that. I suggest you do it at home just for a moment and say, yeah, that's what's happening. Notice that he was born long after Berwick got started, so he was really out of touch, wasn't he? Yeah. All right. Next one is, I saw Sherry. Thank you for coming. All right. Peasant Dance. This is one my wife found for me and said, I think you'll like it. And I didn't play it the first time up, but this time I have included, and I do like it. It's refreshingly modern in feeling. And incidentally, neither of us knows who the composer is. If you know that, if you know the composer, tell us. Now, it turns out that the next 6 pieces are all by that same guy I like so much, Siegfried Kargeler. And I love this guy's stuff. I just marvel at what it took to compose these particular pieces, which are really not at all aligned with what we think of as complete compositions. They have their own special personality, and that makes them all the more interesting to me. No one should ever, in my opinion, think of etudes as less than fully what we call full-blown musical compositions. Same thing is true with drawing. A lot of people say, oh, is it just drawing? Well, it's a terrible mistake, because drawing is complete. Good, gifted drawers, it's as good as any major painting that I'm going to see in the Louvre in a few months, right? All right. I probably shouldn't tell you this, but this is supposed to sound like 2 flutes. It's not an easy thing to pull off.
Does sound like 2 flutes.
Oh, good. Who said that? Oh, thank you. You saved my life. No, that's great. Good.
2 talking, really.
Pardon?
It's like 2 talking to each other.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. They're talking to each other, yeah. All right. And if I could speak Italian, that would be a blessing, but I can pick up un poco mosso umoristico. We can all figure that out. And there is something funny about this piece. It's a real happy, like a child roaring, across a meadow or something. It just flows, and I love it. Velocissimo. Everyone get that? Fast, right? Well, I'll do my best. This is probably my favorite challenge of all the new pieces I've added. Several of these I never played in public before, so I had to really work to get them going. This is one of them. See it, we are getting near the end. It might have looked like a whole lot, and maybe it was to you, but not as long as it looked like it was going to be. Adagio quasi like a cadenza, it says, and so I can play it pretty freely. Leggerissimo, like walking. Remains to be seen whether it'll seem like walking when I get done. But it certainly feels like that when I'm playing it. I saved the hardest one for last, only in one respect. It's harder than the others in one respect. there's no place to breathe. There are no rest in the song. So you figure out how to navigate that world. And I've been playing this off and on for years, and I refuse to give up. Okay, there will be one tiny encore here, and everyone will probably recognize it, but I love to play it. That's it. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Means a lot to
Thanks,
me.
Ross. That was so wonderful.
Thank
So
you.
enjoyable.
Thank you.
Another round of applause.
Hope you stick around for something to drink.
Yes,
But
there is refreshments in the
Yeah.
back, and you can talk with Ross and ask any questions and see which one is his favorite. I know mine.